So, what does it mean to be a self leader today? This is a very important topic to discuss. So, leave some comments on what it means from your perspective to be a self leader. Not just a leader that gets followers, but I'm talking about being a self leader. There's a very important distinction there. Now, as I look at the past year in particular of my development, this idea of self-leadership has really come onto my radar, and it's not a term that I invented by any means. It's actually a term that I heard through a particular group of people. Some of these guys in particular have become very good friends of mine, and it's reassuring to know that there are other people out there who actually care about becoming self-leaders. Now, what is a self-leader? And I'll also get into why this is important. So a self-leader is one who is willing to take responsibility and do the ugly, dirty work, to do the stuff that is uncomfortable, to be brutally self-honest. And this, in turn, may turn some people away from watching this video, but those aren't the people I'm talking to anyway. Some of you will actually realize that level of responsibility and facing the shit that you don't want to face is actually going to give you the greatest life ever. So for those that realize that, this video is for you. So a self-leader, here's a little story that encapsulates my journey into being a self-leader, because I wasn't always a self-leader. So a self-leader, and just to be clear, it's someone who can direct themselves in any moment and who has honesty and applies that brutal self-honesty to actually making real change. Not just living in this imagination fairy tale land in your brain that says, oh, I'm just going to be successful one day, so it'll just happen eventually. It's like that was me a year ago. I was completely being in delusion. Now, it changed when I met particularly three of my friends, Kian and Asif Nasralli. They're brothers from Canada, and they really helped me step up in this because I was not being a self-leader. And then Mustafa El-Maradi, who has been a brother of mine over many, many years, and he and I have been able to have in-depth conversations about this kind of stuff. And really, I saw where I was not taking responsibility in my life, and I was just thinking that, oh, if I just have enough positive energy and enough positive emotion, my dreams will come true. And that could not be further than the truth. I was living in freaking delusion. Now, here's the story of my journey to being a self-leader. I had a particular goal that I wanted to hit. Hey, Kareem, I'm looking forward to chatting with you on Friday, man. Okay. I had a particular goal of a certain amount of money that I wanted to make every single day. And I knew enough that it was possible because I was getting mentorship from some people on how to do that. But that goal was way bigger than anything I'd done before. And so me, at the time not being a self-leader, was just convinced that, oh, if I just listen to enough positive audios, if I just read enough books, if I just write my goals down enough, I will magically somehow have it fall in my lap. And a lot of people do that. But I heard this term, it's called toxic positivity the other day. Have any of you heard of toxic positivity? Have any of you been guilty of doing toxic positivity? I know I sure was definitely doing that. So a real self-leader does not live in delusion of positivity. It doesn't mean that you can't be optimistic, but you're not overly optimistic. So that you're realistic in what you're doing, because a self-leader deals with reality. Right? We're not living in some delusional mind fantasy. We're living in real reality with real issues in the world and in our lives, with being able to support other real people. So I had this goal, and I was so stuck on it of what I wanted it to be, but I was being completely dishonest with myself, and I didn't actually believe I could get it. So it took my friends, three of them, back-to-back phone calls with them, for them to help me snap out of it. Okay. It was like they respectfully but sternly called me out on my BS, because that's also what self-leaders do, is we are there for each other to remind each other to stay responsible and progress toward our goals, even if it's uncomfortable sometimes. So through a series of 3 conversations, back to back to back, it helped me to change that goal of mine. And I then realized that I was finally teachable enough. I had stopped becoming teachable, if you know what that is. If you don't know what that is, check out Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau. He talks about teachability. Meaning I wasn't willing to accept change and I was being stubborn. I'm sure some of you have gone through being stubborn as well. So to then really be a self-leader, I had to, 1, get really honest with myself and realize that I was living in delusion. And then 2, I needed to look at practical reality and see, okay, what's a more practical way of looking at my goals and actually achieving them? Then I changed it. And I had the willingness to change my goal and then hold myself accountable to it. And then, in the aftermath, and it was uncomfortable, day after day after day after day after day after day, applying myself over and over and over and over and over and over in self-leadership. And sometimes I'd trip and fall. And sometimes it would feel horrible. And sometimes I would second guess myself and I would doubt myself. But I still applied myself within my principles. Because this is now really what self-leadership is about. It's not about living your life based on emotions. It's not about making decisions that, ooh, this feels good, this feels bad. Oh, avoid bad, chase good. No. Self-leadership is about living based on principle. And there's a series of principles that I'm happy to share with any of you. If you don't know what your principles are, that's okay. But clarify them. That's what self-leadership is. And that's what the world needs now more than ever. Because a lot of people are really operating out of fear right now for many reasons. And some of it is it's cool. It makes sense. Like, this is an unprecedented thing that is gripping our world right now, which is coronavirus. But the world needs self-leaders to stand up and live as a living example, so then we can lead other people to get back to themselves. I'm not interested in being a leader with followers. I'm interested in being a leader of myself so I can trust myself to always do what is best, always and in every possible way in my life. I realize that's a process. That's going to be something I'm going to be walking through the rest of my life. But that's what self-leadership is about. It's about a worthy ideal that one is moving toward. And this is so important because there is a group of me and about 35 other people. And there's another group too that I have, and it's about self-perfection, and it really is about self-leadership. And so if you're out there and you're curious about this phrase self-leadership, lead yourself to reach out. I'm not going to try and sell you anything. I'm not going to try and convince you of something. I'm here to support the people that understand that the world right now is lacking in self-leadership. We have a shortage of self-leadership, and it is in high demand. And so if you want your life to be better, you want to make more money, you want to make more impact, you want to just have more stability, you want to just not feel dread when you wake up in the morning, you want to not feel like shit from worrying all the time, then reach out. I'm here to support people. So to me, a self-leader, really in conclusion, a self-leader is one who is willing to be responsible and honest with themselves about where they're BSing themselves. Because if you really look at your life over the past 3 to 5 years, has anything really changed? And that's a tough pill to swallow for people. But the people who are honest and they see that, yeah, it's not actually what I'm hoping it is, those are the kind of people I'm talking to. And so know that there are people who are walking day in and day out in principle. Because principle is what really matters. Principle is what lasts. Emotion comes and goes. You'll feel like bliss. Man, for all the people who want to manifest bliss in their life, and I want to feel so good, I want to feel so happy all the time, good luck. Good luck. You won't get that if you chase the bliss. That will be a byproduct if you live off principle. I promise you that. If you can look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day, okay, do this right after you finish watching this video. Go look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself the hard questions of, does my life even matter? Can I even trust myself? Can I be honest with myself? What's holding me back? Is my life even changing? I did not want to do this. If I was even a year ago and I was watching this video, I'd probably be triggered. but I would still do it. Because I have realized enough that you can't just focus on the positive and you can't just focus on the big aspirational dreams. You have to be willing to look at the ugly stuff. You have to be willing to look at the shadow. And that is what a self-leader does. They look at and push themselves and others toward a better future, and they are honest with themselves, and they realize that life sucks sometimes. And to not be afraid of that and to work through that, that's real self-leadership, because then you can fundamentally upgrade yourself and support others to do the same. Because look at the world right now. We need more support now than ever. We are in this together. Anthony Perez says, I read Reality Transurfing, and it talks not too much important on your goal. Yeah, Reality Transurfing, I don't know what that is, but I've heard about that too, and it just sounds like it's called a non sequitur, which is just some fancy word that basically makes people feel like they don't know what's going on, so they put that person as an authority. Anthony, I would like to hear more about what this is from your perspective in a direct message. Because I know people sometimes in comments, like, it gets a little weird because we have to, like, defend ourselves and all that. I'm not saying that you would defend yourself by any means. I'm just saying, like, let's have a conversation about this. Because I see a lot of bullshit being thrown around. And people saying, oh, yeah, I just create my reality with my thoughts, man. It's all good. It's like, okay, well, if you're creating your reality with your thoughts, well, look at what the fuck we're all creating collectively right now. It is hell on earth. And so let's change that. And that's what a self-leader is it someone who's not just trying to live in heaven on earth without doing any of the work. It's someone who's willing to march straight into hell on earth, take responsibility for it, empower everyone, and then all of us can move forward together. And then that's how we're actually going to create a better world. It's simple. Is it easy? No. But it becomes easier when you have a group. Yusuf, yes, cool, Yusuf. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. And seriously, yeah, this video is not meant for the vast majority of people, but some of you out there who understand and resonate with this term self-leader, it's time to step up. If you needed a warning call to step the fuck up, it's here. And if you're not going to step up now, well then really look long and hard at yourself in the mirror and say, why am I not willing to step up? Because there's probably some block within you. But think of the thousands of people that are just waiting for you to step up. Think of the thousands of people that you will impact their life. Shit, you don't even have to think about 1,000 people. Think of your immediate friends and family. How much their life will change when you step up. That's one reality. One is where you step up and you stand as a living example and you support them. And then there's another reality where you don't step up. You just say, I'm good, I'll step up next week. I'll step up when the next coronavirus happens. I'll step up after I do that thing. I'll step up when the weather's nicer. We'll come up with all these bullshit excuses. But then think of the consequence that has not only on you, but on your loved ones, your friends, family, and the world. So the choice is yours. So that's what a self-leader is to me. And it's a daily process. I still get called out from my friends. I still call them out. That's part of being a self-leader, is that we're here for each other. And that is priceless. All right. See you later.